Why does the 13th Amendment permit involuntary prison labor? Imagine a law that officially ends slavery but then creates a loophole that allows forced work to continue. That's exactly what the 13th Amendment did when it was ratified in 1865. It abolished slavery and involuntary servitude across the United States, but it included a key exception. The amendment states that slavery or involuntary servitude is not allowed except as a punishment for a crime where the person has been properly convicted. This small but powerful exception has had a huge impact on Black Americans and other marginalized groups for over 150 years. To understand why this exception exists, we need to look at what was happening during that time. The Civil War had just ended, and the Southern economy was in trouble. Plantations and industries that relied on enslaved labor needed a new way to get work done without paying workers. Instead of ending slavery completely, the law created a legal way to continue forced labor under the cover of criminal punishment. This was no accident. The people who drafted the amendment knew exactly what they were doing. Southern states quickly took advantage of this loophole. They passed Black codes, laws that criminalized everyday activities for Black people. Things like walking on grass, being unemployed, or stealing food could land Black folks in jail. Many were arrested for minor offenses or even for no reason at all. Once in jail, they could be leased out to private companies or individuals. This system, called convict leasing, was brutal. Prisoners worked in mines, farms, factories, and construction sites without pay. Conditions were dangerous, and many prisoners died from overwork or mistreatment. It was a system that looked a lot like slavery, just under a different name. As time went on, the convict leasing system faced criticism and was eventually phased out. But the idea of forced prison labor didn't disappear. Instead, it evolved into other forms like chain gangs and prison farms. Places like Angola Prison in Louisiana, which was once a slave plantation, still requiring prisoners to work in fields. Most of those incarcerated there are Black. Today, more than 65% of prisoners report being forced to work for little or no pay. They do jobs like firefighting, road paving, or warehouse work, often under threat of punishment. They aren't protected by minimum wage laws or safety rules. Instead, they face threats like solitary confinement or losing visitation rights if they refuse to work. The reason this loophole persists is because the people who wrote the 13th Amendment knew exactly what they were doing. They wanted a way to keep forced labor alive, especially targeting Black Americans. Over the years, policies like harsh policing, long sentences, and mass incarceration have kept Black communities overrepresented in prisons. This means the exception clause has been used disproportionately against Black people, continuing a legacy of racial exploitation. So, the reason the 13th Amendment allows involuntary prison labor is that it was a deliberate choice by its creators. They understood that the exception would let forced labor continue under the guise of punishment. For more than a century and a half, this loophole has allowed the United States to profit from the forced labor of hundreds of thousands of people, mostly Black, while claiming to have abolished slavery. It's a complicated part of history that still affects us today.